We'll start the Crossroads countdown as people are flooding in. Give it a few minutes before we start. Look at the numbers. Wow. A lot of people want to hear Jennifer this morning. That's fantastic. Look at them come in. It's a good day to be. Don't know where you're joining us from, but good day to be inside. Here in Minnesota, it's a little nippy out. So nice cup of coffee and curl up and learn about LinkedIn. How could it get any better than that? We're just doing the Crossroads countdown as people are streaming in, try to get an opportunity for people to get in before we start. And boy, they're continuing to come. Holy smokes. This is the place to be, folks. Wow, look at the people streaming in. Awesome. Well, they are continuing to come in, but we will dive in. Good morning, Crossroads Nation. My name is Skip Nelson. I'm one of the volunteers that put on this program. And we are just thrilled to have you with us this morning. We've got a great program lined up. And if you are in job transition, this is a great place to be. If you're not, it's still great information on pick up a few tips on LinkedIn and network a little bit. So something for everybody. But we will be hearing from our guest. We've also got a video testimony from Kathy Ireland. Yes, that Kathy Ireland, the supermodel. Nice way to start the day with a supermodel. So we'll watch that video, and then Jennifer will give her presentation, and then after that, I will go over some resources that Minnesota Crossroads has for you in your job transition. And there are a lot of them. And so be sure to stick around for the end. And we'll also talk about how you can actually get a free copy of this book just for attending. So make sure you stick around to the end. And lots of fun stuff to go over and a lot of great information. So have a pen and paper ready. You'll want to take notes. And but I'd like to dive in and just touch a little bit on the word before we start. And I really wanted to focus a bit on the 23rd Psalm. And because I found that when I was in my own job transition, it really affected me. It was kind of like a death. And for me, I had my own company. It was by choice. I didn't have to do it, but I just was kind of burned out, decided I wanted to do something different. But even then, it was still a massive, I had had my business for almost 30 years, and to be doing something else was quite an adjustment. And I found at times where, because I was kind of defined by my company, and that was kind of what I was for 30 years, I felt kind of lost, and I was kind of down and questioning myself and who am I now? And so when people ask me, how you doing, Skip? I'd say, oh, fine. But it wasn't true. But I didn't really want to be honest. I mean, do people want to hear, well, I'm really down and I feel like a piece of garbage and I don't feel like I'm contributing? And I mean, that's probably a little more than people are bargaining for, even though that's where I was feeling sometimes. And so I found that in the 23rd Psalm, it says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside the still waters. And really what that's talking about is that God's got this. He's got us, and he will provide what we need. Now, that may not always be what we want. I know in job transition, frequently it isn't in the time frame that we want. God's got his own time frame, and that differed from mine, certainly. But lean into him. You're not in this journey alone. God is there. He has got this. And the other thing that I found in 23rd Psalms, it talks about he restores my soul. And my question for you in your job transition is, what is God going to restore for you? What is he going to use this period of job transition for in your life, as opposed to just this inconvenience and I don't have my job anymore, so I got to find another one, and this is a pain and I'm stressed, and those are all elements of it. But go beyond that. God is going to use this time period, which can be challenging, but he's going to use it for you. And he's going to use it to prepare you for your next endeavor. And it's going to be better than you can imagine. I see it. I've coached hundreds of people in job transition. I hear it all the time. Wow, I wasn't even going to be looking for a job, but then I got kicked out. And I ended up finding something better than I could have imagined. Gosh, I wish I'd done this years ago. And that's what's going to happen to you. So lean into God and focus on what is he using this period for, whether it's renewal, whether it's rest, whether it's learning something new, a new skill, whatever. But use this and use God, the process that he's laid out for you to make the most of this process, and you will be better for it. So amen, amen. So beyond that, now let's get on to the supermodel, Kathy Ireland. We found these videos that looked at celebrities and talking about their own kind of faith journey, faith story. And Kathy Ireland was no different. I always find it kind of fun to hear from a celebrity or somebody that I didn't realize was a person of faith and kind of hear their story. And so that's what we will do now. We'll listen to Kathy Ireland, and then after that video is done, I will come back and introduce our speaker. So Kathy, over to you.
My room was at the end of a really long, dark hallway, and I later learned from other girls who stayed there before me that they referred to that room as the dungeon. And it was in that dungeon that my life would be forever changed. I don't remember a time that I didn't believe in God. Just always knew that he was there, but I didn't know him, and I didn't know that I didn't know him. As a kid, I would pray at times, but it was about me. It was when I needed something. But there was a part of me that was kind of scared of God. The church that I attended as a child, the leader there would kind of yell, and I didn't feel his love there. It kind of imposed what this man was doing on what God was all about. When I was a teenager, my mom got saved. And Mom was really quiet about her faith in the beginning, but I was noticing this transformation in her, and I liked what I saw. I went off to Paris to start modeling, and it sounds so much more glamorous than it was. I was 18 years old, and I was traveling alone. I was staying in a home where I didn't feel comfortable, to the extent that any time I spent in that home, I would basically lock myself in my room. And I later learned from other girls who stayed there before me that they referred to that room as the dungeon. It was the middle of the night, and I had jet lag, and unbeknownst to me, Mom had slipped a Bible in my suitcase. I'd never read a Bible in my life. And it was out of jet lag and boredom and loneliness that I picked it up, and I randomly opened up to the Gospel of Matthew. And as I read, my life was forever changed. I was a rebellious teenager. I was questioning authority. Who really knows the truth? Who really knows what's right and what's wrong? Who's to say? And I knew that what I was holding in my hands was the truth. I think one of the things that grabbed a hold of me was that Jesus wasn't anything like I thought. He wasn't condemning. He wasn't yelling. He was loving, and he was leading. And particularly as a young woman out in the world for the first time, in a world that oftentimes felt dominated by men of questionable character, it gave me such comfort to know that Jesus loves women and honors them. And Jesus Christ became my Lord, my Savior, my best friend. But I regret that I remained such a baby Christian for so long. I would continue to read the Word, but I would just read the same passages over and over. And there were other verses I would come across that I thought, surely it must be a typo, or it doesn't pertain to me, or some justification. And I believed the lie that it was too complicated, or that I didn't need it. Yeah, if you asked me, I was a Christian. He was in my life. I loved him. I had him. But I was trying to mold God into what I wanted him to be, rather than allowing him to mold me into the person he made me to be. One of my sins is the sin of self-reliance, being a control freak. And I think probably one of the most difficult things was giving up that control to God. I was at a women's retreat years ago, and as I was praying, I felt the Lord speak to me. He said, "You say I'm your first priority, but I'm not." I would say that my faith came first, and then my family, but I was putting our kids in first position. And anything that comes before God is an idol, even if it's something good. And I said, "But Lord, you know what I'm going through. With 3 kids, different ages, different needs, the business." I just felt so pulled in every direction. And I just said, I don't know how. And he said, "Trust me in this. Put me first, and I'll give you more time with your kids. I'll give you better time with your kids." And he is so faithful. He's just so faithful. For me, I just started getting up earlier and spending time with him, and it would start out gradually, and then, now I can't get enough. And he's our perfect Father. He made us, he knows us. And by putting him first, it's incredible how he equips us and gives us exactly what we need. When people ask me, what are your goals? My goal in life is to grow closer to Jesus each day, to follow his lead for me, to stay on his path, to be obedient, and it's just day by day. My name is Kathy Ireland, and I'm second.
Well, thank you, Kathy. That was a great perspective to get, all the things that those supermodels go through, and how so many are mistreated, and how she was able to find security in the Lord. How wonderful. So thank you again. That was a wonderful perspective. Well, now on to our speaker. We are so fortunate to have Jennifer Radke back again with us. She has spoken to us before. She's an international speaker, business leader, and CEO of the National Institute for Social Media. And she is an expert in the area of LinkedIn. And I know LinkedIn is not only an incredibly powerful platform just in business, but in job transition, it is incredibly valuable and important. And if anything you can do to maximize your utilization of LinkedIn, particularly in a job transition, is a good thing. And I can think of nobody better than to help guide us in that regard than Jennifer Radke. So we are so lucky to have her with us, and she will take over from here and share lots of great nuggets with us. So good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Skip. Thank you and Harry for having me back, and thank everyone for showing up today. It is cold here in Minnesota, and my brain is still waking up a little bit. So I'm excited to have you all here, and I look forward to sharing hopefully some really good nuggets with you. As you may have noticed in the outline for today, we're not going to do kind of the basics. We're going to go beyond the basics of LinkedIn. So I'm going to actually pull up LinkedIn and be going in to the platform and sharing some kind of tips and tricks that you may not have yet discovered in your journey. Now, some of you might be pretty new to the platform and you might have missed some of those basics. And so if there are questions, I do strongly encourage them in the chat box. I will get to as many as I can. And if you're somebody who wants me to maybe use your profile as an example at any point, feel free to share that in the comment box as well. I'm not usually very mean. I'm more insightful and helpful there. So we're going to go ahead and pull up LinkedIn. And one of the things that Skip said very well is that LinkedIn is great for using it in the business world, connecting with other professionals, networking. You can do collaborations, you can find new hires, but in the job search, it's definitely a focus because you're trying to connect with hiring managers who are looking for the skills that you can bring to an organization. And there are a lot of different ways that you can utilize the platform in order to share those skills with other people. It isn't just searching out individuals that can help you along your way. It has a lot to do with really putting your best foot forward and creating a profile that will engage people and will tell an example or a story about who you are and what you can bring to the organization. Okay, so one of the first things you may notice is that I'm actually in dark mode. My LinkedIn may look different than yours, so don't panic. That was intentional. If you're not familiar with dark mode, it's up in the settings. If you go to Me and your settings and privacy, the display function will show up right away, right here on top, and you can toggle it to dark mode. I'm on the computer all day long. My eyes get tired. And so dark mode helps me not have that white light from the computer screen all the time. Okay. Since we're here in settings, I really want to strongly encourage each of you to go and take a look at your settings. Know what you have open and make sure it's what your intentions are, right? So for me, I don't want videos to autoplay. I don't always have my sound on the computer. And if I don't have my earbuds in, if the autoplay videos happen, I miss whatever the first part was. So I have that turned off. I go ahead and show my profile photos to anyone on LinkedIn, and you can limit that to only your connections or only your friends. But my purpose for being on LinkedIn is to network and to connect with other people. And I do a lot of speaking, or I do sessions like this. And so it's helpful that the image is there right away so they know they're getting the right Jennifer Radke. Okay. There are other features you can choose to turn on or off. You can sync it to your calendar. You can do some sign in and security. I want to jump over to visibility for a second. Oftentimes, professionals have one of kind of two trains of thought in visibility. One is kind of similar to mine. I'm here to be seen, right? To make those connections, to do the networking, to land the gig. But other people want to keep it really tight to the breast and not necessarily be seen by everyone. This is where you would do that in your visibility settings. You can shut off maybe who can see those individuals that you follow. You can shut off who can see your connections. how they can discover you, whether or not they can use an email, like if they find your business card and they can search you out that way. So it's really important to take a little bit of time and go through your settings to ensure they're set up the way you want them to be and the way that you want to maximize the usage of the platform. Okay. There isn't a right or a wrong. The thing that I encourage you to think about is really what your goal is with the platform and how the majority of people that you want to connect with will find you. And if you lock everything down and do everything as an anonymous individual, they may have difficulty finding you. If you are, however, doing like competitive analysis and you don't want your competitors to know, then you may turn on some of your more anonymous settings in order to not be seen. Okay. So I'm hoping that was a helpful start. My profile is fairly well constructed, meaning all of the pieces are there. It takes time, right? It takes a lot of time to kind of build your online presence. And I strongly encourage you to get a step above or away from just having it be a copy of your resume. People come here to get a little bit more experience or exposure to who you are as a person, not just as the resume allows. So when you're building your profile, make sure that you're thinking through how you can tell stories about the path you've taken, share values and what's important to you, because these are things that may identify you as a positive culture fit, right? And we've heard that, you just got to make sure you're a good fit for the culture. When you're in your profile, and I hope most of you know this piece already, but I want to refresh for anyone who doesn't, all the little pencils are areas in which you can go in and edit. If you don't have a header photo, the one across the top where mine says you're invited, you should add something there. Having the blue or gray LinkedIn standard background is not a positive. 37% more likely to be found in search if you at least just upload something here. One of the questions I often get is, does it have to be, specific to the type of job I'm looking for? No, it doesn't. It could be a nice landscape photo or maybe a picture of you doing something that you enjoy, but make sure it's appropriate and does fit with you a little bit. If you are using an image that you've gotten off of the internet, please make sure you have the copyright to do that it is for free use. Okay. So I want to make sure that everybody's going in and editing their profile to their best ability. You'll notice a few things about mine that you may not have. And so I want to point some of those out. The first one is that there's a little sound box, right? Or a icon that indicates there's sound. If you go on your mobile device, Apple or Android, you can actually give a pronunciation of your name here. So if you have a really hard to pronounce first or last name, it's really great to add that piece there, especially if you're going to do some in-person networking. It makes people feel more comfortable when they're entering that situation because they don't have to ask you first how to pronounce your name or be afraid of butchering it. You also have the option of adding pronouns. I have my profile set to creator mode because I do publish here a lot. You do not need to have it set to creator mode, but when you do, you have the opportunity to talk about, what are those hashtags that you bring into the conversation. What you can do is under open to you, you can add that you're looking for work, okay? Finding a new job. When you do this, you have the option to say whether or not this gets shown to everyone on LinkedIn or just recruiters. This is another piece where I just want you to stop and think for a second about your goal and also maybe where you are in the process. If you've been laid off, you're no longer working, I think it's great to share it with all of LinkedIn that you're looking, because then folks like myself or Skip or Harry who are connected to you have a reminder that you are looking for something, and we can kind of keep at the top of our mind the things that you might be interested in seeing. Okay. If you set it to recruiters only, that doesn't mean that all HR or hiring managers will see it. It only means that those people who pay for the recruiting version of LinkedIn will see it. Okay. So that is one of those pieces that I want you to be sure you think about. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple of profiles. Before I get that far, I do want to show you something. If you happen to know someone's name, okay, you can type it into the search bar up in the upper left-hand corner. If you're on a mobile device, it's either at the bottom, sometimes it's at the top. You get the little magnifying glass thing for search. When you do a search, it's going to ask you across the top, or do you want to filter this in any way, right? I want to filter mine by people because I want to show you something specifically here. You'll notice that there's a few different options coming up on the right-hand side. So Bob Swanson here, the second one down, that's at CSC, I have an option to connect with him. Now, one of the reasons I do is because we have a common connection, right? So he is the second level. But you'll see that Bob Swanson, who's a suicide prevention speaker, is a third level connection, and I only have that option here to message him. Well, I don't pay for LinkedIn Premium, and I don't have extra emails. So messaging him for me is a roadblock, right? And it might be for you as well. So in a second, I'm going to show you how to get around that roadblock. But before I do that, I also want to go down a little bit and show you that this Bob Swanson, who's in my third level network again, commercial banker, has the follow option. What this means is he has creator mode set on. And so this is what it looks like if you look up my profile and we're not yet connected. It'll ask you to follow me first. But I'm going to give you a little tip around how to message and follow. If you go to the profile you're wanting to connect with, okay, it's still going to say message, or in the case of the other one, it'll say follow, and the one that's highlighted in blue. But if you go over to the more button, it's going to still give you the option to connect with that person. And then when you hit that, it's going to give you the option to add a note. When you are connecting with people you do not know, you need to add a note, personalize that note, and be careful about how you pitch it, right? I get that question a lot, is, what should that look like? Well, let Bob know why you're interested in connecting from his standpoint, right? I saw your profile. I'm really impressed with the work that you're doing on suicide prevention. I'd love to know more about where you're speaking, or what is your ideal location to spread this word. So you're asking about them instead of saying, hey, Bob, I also want to get into that work. You don't know me at all, but could you help me find a job, right? You don't want to pitch someone like that. It's almost as bad as the sales pitches I get every single day that say, oh, hey, Jen, great profile. I work with consultants like you who need to update their LinkedIn and use it as a recruitment tool. And I go, wow, you didn't look at my profile at all, right? So being sure that you're kind of looking through that profile, spend the 30 seconds to get to know them and then customize it. But you can go ahead and find those profiles by search, okay? All right, a couple of you have asked me to search out your profiles and to use yours. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for the next little phase. Whoops, I'm going to put Katie in first. All right. Hello, Katie. Great to meet you virtually. All right, so Katie has a nice image across the top. She's got a good solid headshot. Katie's extended her name actually to include some very key terms, enabling success through content. That's a practice that some people do add there, and I don't have any problems with. I would watch some of your search numbers, like how often you're being found in search, because your name section is, of course, one of the highest search sections within the algorithm, because it's the one that people think they know the most, right? So it's great there. I also like that in your headline, you don't have the words seeking new job opportunity, because no one is searching for that. But instead you have senior technical writer. Here's how you help people, right? By creating world-class content through research, interviews, okay? There are some keywords here, and I'm pointing those out. The title, the senior technical writer, is one, but content, research, interviewing, and leadership are all things that might come up in search. And so those are great. I encourage you all to think too about LinkedIn as being, a work in progress. And so as you're going, put these headlines out for a week, maybe two, see how it's working for you, how you're being searched and how you're being found, and then make some small tweaks and see if there are items or words that you want to change, so that you can continue to grow and expand your network. Okay. At this moment, it doesn't look like you have open to work turned on. That may or may not be something that you're interested in doing. It's just something to think about. Okay. Your about section does have a sentence at the top that is a little bit more engaging. Some people like to put here, I'm a passionate, hardworking XYZ professional with 25 years of experience in XYZ industry, right? Well, when it looks like everybody else, it doesn't stand out. And so you've done this, you've put, enabling success through content. I would almost put that before the content developer or senior technical writer, because I don't necessarily care as much about the job title. I care more about the work that you can do. The other piece that I tend to recommend is that you put a space between like developer and your / and the senior in your /. And the reason for that is it looks like one word to a search. If you're just looking for developer, it may not fully come up depending on how you're searching it, with which Google techniques you're using to search. Okay. One of the things I definitely recommend you add to your about section is a call to action. Somewhere on here, usually it's a nice way to wrap it up. Let's connect if I can help you this way. And sometimes people put an email address there as well to make it easy for people to connect. If you're seeing lots of spam, take the email address off. I have mine there almost always, and I don't get a lot of spam to my email. It takes too much work for people to go looking for it. The return on their investment is pretty low, so I don't see that too often. But I put some sort of call to action here that really lets people know you want to connect with them. Okay. This is also a place for you to tell a little bit of your story. So you've got kind of a list of what you do, but tell me how you got there. Tell me about one of the things in your professional career that you're really the most proud of. Did you write a onboarding manual that's been used now for the last 15 years? Did you put into place some protocols that have allowed businesses to grow because of that work that you did, right? Did you streamline how long it took people at the bank to handle customer transactions because of the process and procedure manual that you created, right? So what are some of those stories? And this can also filter into your personal life a little bit. We are more than just the professions that we have. And so if there are things that you believe are relevant for people to know about you and your personal brand, this about section is a great place to put that. Okay. We'll come back to activity because I'm excited to see you have some. Under experience, it is very important to write what it is you're doing. And this is another place for you to add keywords. One of the things in the basic session that I do with folks, and you should be able to find it either on the Crossroads YouTube channel or even on the National Institute for Social Media's YouTube channel, is my basic LinkedIn session. But I encourage job seekers to go out and search a job board of your choice. Pick 10 to 12 that just sound perfect. Like you love those job descriptions. It sounds like a great fit for you. And put them into a word cloud system. So you can use a free service. The one I like is called 𝙇𝙤𝙣 𝙠𝙚, and I'll put that here in the message. 𝙇𝙤𝙣.com is just a word cloud system. So when you copy and paste those 8 to 10 job descriptions into the open text box and you hit visualize, it shows you the words that are used the most frequently. They become visually larger in size, right? So you can see which ones those are. But then go through and scan your profile and maybe even your resume, right? Are they matching up? Because if the jobs that are right for you aren't matching the words you're using, then you're going to have a hard time getting through the applicant tracking systems. Things that can help you, again, be found are those keywords. So under the work that you're doing, even here as a contract employee with Microsoft, what are some of those things that you're doing? What are you writing? And I do know that sometimes you can't share exact details because it's proprietary, right? So what can you share? How can you describe the information that you're doing there and the work that you're doing there to someone who's curious, okay? I highly encourage folks not to go straight to the job descriptions and copy and paste, because job descriptions, frankly, are horrible. If I have any HR folks on the call, I apologize in advance for saying that, but I think they're horrible. And so, use it maybe as a guide, but write in your language. What do you actually do there? And just because you may answer the phone doesn't really give me much to go on, right? How do you answer the phone? What do you do when you answer the phone? There are a lot of positives that you can share here. So I would go through each of your experiences and add some additional details, but also try to pick 1 or 2 things that you're really proud of having completed while you were there, right? What is a project that you did? What is something that you contributed to that had an impact on the organization? Is there anything that you left behind in kind of a legacy capacity, right? And if not, if you're a salesperson or a marketing person, what are those numbers? What is the data that you can share with people about the success that you've had in your roles? Okay. Done a nice job of using education here, license and certifications. I am all for sharing this. I think it's very valuable. Volunteering, 100%. I would put volunteer work in there. Some people are afraid to do it, especially because they think it could identify them as perhaps Christian, right? And they're nervous about that. I'm at a point in my career and in my life where that is who I am and what's important to me. And so if somebody's not going to give me a job opportunity because I volunteer for Christian-based organization, then I don't really want to work with that person anyways. I realize not everybody on the call might be in that position. So you have to think through really where you are in your career and what you need to share. But for most hiring managers, seeing that you do something outside of work is a value, right? They want to know that you're more well-rounded. They want to know that you're involved in community involvement. And so those are great things to put in there. Skills. You have the ability to choose which of the 3 show up first before you hit the see more. So when I'm in mine, there'll be a little pencil here on the right-hand side, and you can pin the 3 skills that you want people to see to the profile. I recommend that you do that. Otherwise, what it does is it chooses kind of randomly the ones that have the most endorsements. But the reality is if you're changing careers or specifically fields, right, the skill that you maybe are best known for is not necessarily the one you want to continue. So you can alter those and make sure you're seeing what's there. Also, if you've not been endorsed for a skill that you really want people to know is there, you can add that. Yes, it does look a little funny if you've never been endorsed for it, but if you add those skills, people will start to endorse you for them. If you make it easy, like tagging or putting them here, pinning them to the top, people are inherently lazy, so they're going to pick the ones that are easy, right? But you can also go to those group of trusted advisors that you have and say, hey, I just added this skill. You and I have worked on it. Could you endorse me? I typically don't go that far for this section because it is not that heavily weighted, but it is nice to see skills as hiring managers looking through. What I'm going to weight heavier is recommendations. When's the last time you had one? What do they say about you? And it's really a good idea to consistently be asking for recommendations, even once you land in your new job. Throw out a request once a quarter, twice a quarter, maybe once a month, and then also give recommendations. And I'm really excited to see that you've done that here, Katie. So there's a lot of really good things in your profile. Typically, you cannot move sections of your profile up. That is something that LinkedIn has toyed with a couple of times. And so there's been times in the past where you could, and if you could, usually there was a like 3 lines on the left-hand side of each block, and you could kind of drag and drop. I don't believe that is an option right now. So you just gotta have to keep it where it is, but people know where to go looking for it. So great question. Okay, and I know, Kaylee, you wanna have yours looked at as well. I will get there in a second. I wanna just stop and look at activity. So this is what I referenced earlier when I was talking about you have to go beyond the basics, and you really need to build a profile that helps you not only get visibility, but also to connect with hiring managers or potential hiring managers and show them what you know, right? The best way to do that is by posting content. And that's also probably the scariest thing to do. But I want to go in and we'll take a look a little bit at what Katie has been sharing here. So if I go into Katie's activity, I can see that she's liked a few things. We can see if she has reshared it with a comment, right? Right now we're under all. I tend to go straight to posts because I'm curious about the original thought, right? And I don't necessarily expect that people have written articles, so I don't go there first unless they are a long form content writer, then maybe, but I go to posts. And so I see that not too long ago, 16 hours ago, Katie shared Dr. Storm's post, and then you shared that it's beautiful. Now I would recommend maybe a little more. What was it that you liked about it? I didn't look at this content yet, so it's really hard to know if there's anything else that needs to be shared, but really sharing with people what caught your attention or what was important to you about it gives a little bit of insight to you. This also shows the type of content you're consuming, right? And so here it says operating procedures are important, right? And it talks about this in a fun and creative way. And so why is that important in today's work environment? Why does it keep the intention of the employees who need this information, right? And yeah, we don't have to be stuffy and educational in all of our posts. Sometimes we can just add a little humor to it, and it can be really awesome to share our content, okay? Here was one that she reposted without any comment, which is okay to do, but I do like to encourage you to add your 2 cents because your 2 cents is what's most valuable to people, okay? The one thing, Katie, that I'm not seeing you do at this point is finding and sharing some of your own content. And what I mean by that is right now it's very popular on LinkedIn to not link to articles or websites, right? But instead to share some stories or some tips. I saw something crazy the other day that actually says the algorithm favors posts that are between 1,200 and 1,600 characters. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's what was pulled. I can tell you right now, I am not reading very many of those because those are blog posts or articles to me. But the thing right now is to create a really long form kind of content and put it out on your post and not link to anything. I encourage you to think about maybe shorter form, ways that you could talk about technical writing or something you've learned in your writing journey that you can share with someone else. If writing it out isn't your preferred, if you're not Katie who loves to write, maybe it's a short video that you put out here about, here's a 30-second tip on how I've learned how to manage projects or whatever the case may be, to share your knowledge, your experience, and kind of who you are and your brand with those folks that are out there. Okay. But engaging is super valuable. Commenting on other people's posts in ways that are not just, congratulations on the new job, but really share what was valuable about what they have said or the move that they've made. Okay, so those are some of the things that I would recommend. Overall, Katie, not bad profile. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull up one more, and then I want to make sure that we all know how, what kinds of content and how to create content. Okay. Kevin, good point. Yes, you can post what's going on with the things that you love, like sports, and the things that you're involved in. And those are very valuable too. Not everything that I post on social media is about social media, even though I run a certification and training company for marketers. I also post things about what's valuable to me. Actually, some of you may, if you've looked at my profile, you may go back and see me in a hairnet. I live in the South Metro in Farmington, and just last week, gosh, time flies, the Feed My Starving Children organization, we hosted a South Metro mobile pack. And so I was there on Thursday packing. I'm also part of the leadership team. And so I took a picture of myself in the hairnet, and I actually issued a challenge to LinkedIn, and I put it on Facebook as well, for people to donate to the organization or to come and volunteer. And I matched donations up to a specific dollar amount so that I could kind of maximize my gift, right, by helping get other people involved. So you don't have to put things on here that are 100% business related, but if you constantly put stuff out, about job search, for example, and you're not in human resources, that may be harder for people to realize what it is that you do. Okay. All right. So I do happen to know this family. So yeah, I think you guys moved back. So Kaylee, and I apologize if I'm saying the first name improperly, but Kaylee, if you are back in Minnesota, you might want to change your location. But so I see here we've got aspiring content writer. I would add to this, what kind of value are you going to bring with your content? Maybe what type of organizations or content are you trying to create? For example, if you want to write content in marketing, then the word marketing probably should be here, because that gives you additional visibility in those keywords where people will be searching for you. Okay. Again, you've got a great example of just a beautiful photo across the top and a very good headshot. I love all of that. Okay. The about section should be extended. You want to really put something in at the beginning that catches people's eye, right? And as an aspiring content writer, right, this is where you get to be creative. So what is it about you or about the work that you want to do that will help organizations? Save the attention to detail piece and kind of these list of skills for down lower, but you're a former teacher, right? So talk to me about that, right? Give us a little bit in short paragraphs about why you're moving from teaching and research, right, into writing. What has that evolution looked like? What are the things you learned along the way? And because that shows the value, right, that you're going to bring to an organization. And it's also very clear with right at the beginning, yep, I don't have a lot of experience in writing content yet, because that's what I'm working towards, right? But here's what I do have. As a teacher, you probably had to do some writing, whether it be lesson plans or syllabus. You had to do writing. This is a creative job. Give that kind of description here in your about section. And as I mentioned to Katie, add a call to action with some contact information. You might also consider, and this is something a lot of you might be in a position to do, if you're not currently employed, you don't have anything showing above your education here in this header, right? And the reason is because it will pull from your experience. If you're looking, I encourage you to add a job, right? That is you. You don't have to create an LLC to do it, right? You just create the company name as you. You put in where you would have the title of the job, the 4th and 5th grade aide, for example. Put in content writer, looking to work with these organizations. And then underneath in that experience section, again, tell people what it is you're looking to do. And if you are doing anything freelance or consulting, make sure that that's in there as well. So people know that you might be interested in a contract or a consulting gig, okay? One of the things that you will have a challenge with, and so others who are changing industries may have as well, is that you've got a lot of keywords in your profile that have been built naturally for the job you used to do, not necessarily the job you do now. Excuse me one second. And so one of the things that you want to do over time is really start to change that. One of the things I would look at for anyone who is kind of shifting in their career is what keywords within your profile can be changed or added. So you did them, but maybe they weren't highlighted when you were teaching, to really kind of give you a leg up in the new career. So let me give you a personal example. My first career was in higher education. I was admissions leader, right? Well, admissions is only in maybe 3 industries, right? Higher education, hospitals, and prisons, right? Well, it's a very limited word, but my profile was full of it. Now, I didn't go and change my job titles because those were really what I had. I need them to be true and accurate. But in the descriptions of what I did in the experiences, I changed the word admissions to sales or business development. They mean the same thing, but they make me acceptable in a lot of different agencies or different industries. And so that's something you may want to think through with keywords as well. Okay. License and certifications are good. The other piece, if you're switching industries, is find some way to volunteer. So you can add some details with those keywords that you want to be known for into this, even if that is, you know, guest blogging, add those things in as projects or as volunteer work so that you can expand. Okay. I hope some of these reviews were helpful. I do see a good question here. If you're open to more than one type of role, so like marketing strategist or account manager, how do you keep those things clear? That's a fantastic question, first of all, Diane. So one thing that I tend to encourage and also kind of caution job seekers on is being open to anything, right? Now, your example is not this, so give me just 2 seconds to indulge here. But I talk to a lot of job seekers who are kind of in a mode of panic, and I get it. I've been there, right? but you're in that mode of panic and you're like, I just need a job, right? You have a house or a family or bills, right? Something. And so you need a new job. And I hear, well, I can do this, can do that, can do this. These are not things that we love, but we don't want to shut ourselves out from them because we need a job. I really caution you away from that, because you make it very hard for a hiring manager or a prospective employer to know what it is you're looking for. And honestly, in those situations, it can come across as a little bit needy and unfocused. Now, Diane, what you've got here are two roles or job titles that could very much mean the same thing. Unfortunately, in marketing, titles don't clearly tell us what the job role is anymore. So a marketing strategist could be an account manager at one organization. And so you may be open to both, or you might have a background like I do in both sales and marketing, and you love both aspects of it, right? So you want to kind of evaluate your options and see if there's a way to mix them. Then it's about kind of doing that exercise I mentioned earlier, where you go out, really focus a job search on marketing strategist and those jobs that really appeal to you. And then the account manager jobs that really appeal to you, and see where the common ground is. What are those keywords that kind of link the two together where the jobs are still really speaking to you? Maybe it's working in a team environment, so you want to highlight some of those things and put the sales and or marketing or customer service pieces in there as a supplement. So I hope that helps answer that question. Please let me know if there are any other questions that you all have here, because I don't want to run amok, but I do want to show you a couple of other things. So when I log into my LinkedIn, right, it brings me to this page. Your home feed is in the middle, asks me to start a post at the top, and it gives me links on either side. But one of the things at the top that I do is I look for my little red numbers. This indicates that maybe there's been people who've reached out to me wanting to connect, if it's under my network, if I'm applying for jobs or if I'm hiring, there might be something here. If I have messages, private messages, and then notifications, okay? I tend to go straight to my top board because I want to manage my time. So I go to that notifications piece and I see what happened, right? Okay, so somebody has reacted, so they liked or loved or something, a comment that I was mentioned in. If I didn't yet check out the comment that I was mentioned in, I will want to do that and try to respond, okay? Quentin and 4 other people have viewed my profile. I might want to go here and check this out, right? Now they want me to come back and pay for premium. I don't need to. I'm here every day. So I can go see the top 4 or 5 people who have looked at me recently, okay? Now these 2 people, someone at Chippewa Valley College and someone at Elixir, have their privacy settings to not show me who they are. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the settings. If you want to be seen, it's really important to let people see who that is. If Quentin and I weren't already connected, I would go to his profile. I would see why he might have looked at me and figure out if there's a reason why we should connect. Okay, so there's some value in that. And check that out once in a while. Okay. I go back to notifications. I just scan through. Okay, somebody else has added some comments, whatever. There's a poll that I voted in that closed. Fine, I can go look at the results if I want to. And then someone has replied to a comment that I made. Okay, I'm going to want to go out here and respond to this because they're talking with me. And so these are the things that I'm going to prioritize, right? People who are talking with me online, I want to go out and prioritize. Then I might from there go to look at messages or the folks who have reached out to me. Now, I don't have anyone right now who has reached out to me to connect. So I want to just kind of brainstorm with you for a second some of those personalized invitations. And I gave you a little bit of an example early on. You want to personalize them and you want to do so Let me go ahead and close that for a second. 'Cause I don't want to share a private conversation if it's up, but thank you for the message I just got. You don't want to be so canned in your personalized message that people read it as ingenuine, which I know is kind of frustrating because if you're sending out, 5 or 10 messages at a time, it's hard to rewrite them all the time. So you can create kind of like templates, but then personalize it. An invitation that says, hoping to connect, doesn't tell me anything, right? So tell me why you're hoping to connect. For anybody that's not connected with me here today and wants to be, tell me that you showed up today. Maybe give me a piece of today's session that you really found valuable. These are things that are going to help us connect and start a conversation. Conversations are going to lead to me and others asking you questions about yourself, where you do get to talk about who you are and what you want to do. Okay. Don't tell somebody they have a super impressive profile, but then quote what they do for a living wrong. I get pitches for agencies all the time. I see you run a marketing agency. No, I do not. I run a certification company. I don't do marketing for other people. I teach people who do marketing for other people, right? So it's really important to kind of look at those things. All right. A couple of other best practices. Over here in the 9-box work section, you have some options, right, to look at other areas within your profile or LinkedIn itself. You can go to LinkedIn Learning. Many of the libraries, if you have a library card, like in Hennepin County, I don't know about Dakota or Scott, but I believe it might be option. If you have a library card, you can log in to LinkedIn Learning for little or sometimes nothing. So are there skills that you can update through some of these LinkedIn Learning pieces? Okay. If you're using LinkedIn to sell, it'll bring you to Sales Navigator, but the one I really want to show you here is groups. Okay. You can be a member of groups and find new ways to extend your network through groups. It's a little bit more location diverse. So for some of you, that's right on point. For others, it may not be, right? So go ahead and explore groups, find ways to post in those groups and share your knowledge and experience with other people and network and connect. Okay. All right. We are getting close to time, if not, I think, right? Or do we have a few more minutes? Skip, I can't remember. I want to answer some questions and show you a couple of additional search pieces. Stephen asked, you used a photo in your banner that had a license that only requested attribution. You're unable to figure out where to place the attribution. Any suggestion? Ooh. That's a really good question, because I don't believe, let me go to here. I don't believe we have the alt text option for this header. No, we do not. Honestly, I would recommend you choose another photo. If it were something that was down lower in your profile where you had the ability to add alt text, which is typically used to describe the image for sight impaired or for accessibility issues, you could do that. You could describe that image and then add it in the alt text. But here, there's no real good place to do that. And so even if you added it into the about section or something, the creator might find that it's not where they want it to be. Skip, I saw your note. Thank you so much. I do still have more time. That's good. I always lose track. Okay. So how do we find opportunities? We showed you how early on to look for people, right? But how do you look for jobs? How do you look for folks that you don't have names for? And this is where we can put in things like marketing specialists. Would be good if I spell. Okay. If I put in a job title, I can put in marketing specialist. And remember those filters that I mentioned earlier? They come across the top. We can also hit all filters and gives us some additional options, right? We can see if they're connections of people we know, if they follow people we know. There's additional pieces. What are those hashtags that they talk about? But when you're looking to connect with people, right, you might want to go in and search people who have marketing specialists in their title. And then you can also dive in to who your connections are. Like if you want to just reconnect with people in your network that you maybe haven't talked to in a while that are in the industry that you're in, you can go ahead and say, who are my first connections, and send those people messages that say, you know, hey, Laura, I know it's been a few years since we last chatted. You see that you're working at Rapid Packaging. I'm actually in transition right now, and here's what I'm looking for, right? So it's a great way to kind of on the back end, really maximize that network. If you want to look for new connections, then put a second or third in here and see what results come up. If you're not using premium, this will also help you narrow down your search functions because it's only going to give you a limited number of searches every month. And so the more you can kind of filter in those searches, the more beneficial they can be for you. Okay. So take a look at some of these folks, dive in to their platform, learn a little bit more about who they are, and then send them that request that says, you know, hey, I'd love to learn more about the work that you do. How can, can we connect? All right. Anybody have any questions on search? Okay. So let's talk about posting. Throw out in chat the type of content you tend to post most frequently. And if you don't ever post, tell me the type of content you like to consume on LinkedIn. What does that look like? Is it video? Is it articles? Is it job announcements? What are some of those things that you put out there or like to consume? I know this is the engagement portion. While I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the opportunities of how to write a post, and then we'll talk a little bit more about this. But yeah, let me know in the comments, please, what kinds of content you either post or engage with. So at the top of your feed is this option to create a post. A couple of little things you might notice. For me, I have a drop down both in my name and right behind it. Okay. My name is because I am the manager of several other pages. And so I can choose to post as one of my pages right directly from my home feed, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to post as me. But then I also have the ability to change who sees it. I can say anyone on or off of LinkedIn. I could add Twitter. Now, I don't typically do this because Twitter is a very different beast. And the content there is really short form with additional hashtags. And LinkedIn tends to be a little bit more longer form with only maybe 3 hashtags. And so I don't usually use that option, but if you have content that fits, go ahead. I can share it with only my connections. So if I'm doing something a little more personal, I may want to choose that option, or I can go ahead and select a group that I'm a part of. Okay, I'm going to leave it right now to anyone. I have the option to, put in whatever I want here, what I want to talk about. Now, you'll notice that I added a hashtag into the actual content. There's a bunch of conversation about should it be there or at the bottom, hashtags being separately. If it's something like a one-word hashtag like LinkedIn, I don't have any problems putting it into the content because it doesn't necessarily make it more difficult for the reader. If, however, you're using a longer hashtag like social media strategist, it's 3 words together, I would put that at the bottom and not include it into the actual content that I'm writing. Because the Crossroads Career Network is a group, it's more difficult for me to tag them, right? So they're not a business page. So I'm just going to type that up there. But if I wanted to thank, right, Harry for inviting me, you'll notice what I did was I put the @ symbol first and then started typing his name, and options come up of people that I might want to tag. I want to go ahead and click on the correct Harry, because you'll notice then that it's in bold type. What this means is that when I publish it, it's going to show up actually in blue, which means it's hyperlinked to Harry's profile. So anyone who's reading my post can click on the link and go straight to Harry's profile, which is fantastic, right? But the other thing that it does is it sends Harry a notification that I have mentioned him or tagged him in a post. And it's really important that if you're talking about people, that you add that into your comment. So what happens if Harry doesn't show up right away, or if you're trying to tag someone that has a longer name? So I will show you this with my company. So the National Institute for Social Media, if I just do national, right, and I scroll down, it's not going to show up because there are so many different organizations that start with the word national. So what I want to do is not put a space, but instead put an underscore and keep typing, right? Type properly though. And then when it comes up, and sometimes I have to go all the way out, to media. I've typed it enough times now that LinkedIn's AI is getting smart, but I want to click on that again so it fills that whole thing in. Okay. One of the other questions that people who don't do this very often ask is, okay, I want to thank Harry, but I don't necessarily want the last name or his, his master's degree or credentials in there. You can delete it and just leave the first name, and it still is hyperlinked. Okay, but you have to be careful because if somebody has put their first name in as their full name, and then the last name is something else, you'll see that it'll delete all in person. Okay. So I have a bunch of options here. I can add emojis to this if I want to. I would caution folks, if you're trying to be accessible, emojis done in excess are very difficult for screen readers. So be careful with that. LinkedIn allows you to celebrate an occasion. If you click that, it's going to ask you what kind of occasion, right? What can I celebrate with you? And then it's going to walk you through that process. You can add a photo, you can add a video or a document. You can share that you're hiring, you can celebrate again. You can do polls. Polls are very popular right now on LinkedIn because they do boost engagement. More people are clicking buttons and answering poll questions, and then they allow you as the user to see who has answered your poll in which way, so you can then message them if you want to and follow up, right? You can also always click the ... for additional pieces, so you can offer to help, create an event, find an expert. So there's lots of different pieces that you can add to your post. I don't have it yet, but slowly LinkedIn is rolling out the ability for you to also schedule your post on your platform. So if you're seeing something down here that maybe looks like a calendar or a clock, I don't know exactly what it looks like, that might be the option for you to schedule your post. And what that does is, let's say, I read my news and drink my coffee at 5 a.m. If I do that, and most of my audience doesn't actually get up until 7 or 8 and read their news and do their coffee, then posting at 5 a.m. is probably not the best time for me to do that. So I may want to schedule it to go out later. LinkedIn is creating that in-house now, so you may not have to use third party, which is pretty awesome. All right, I'm going to take a look quick at some of the chat. All right, so people like articles, talking about things that are important to them in their industry or job directions, marketing trends. Okay, good. Technical articles with links or videos. Some people are just using it to look for jobs, so this is new and uncharted territory. And then others are using it to stay connected. Okay. I love this. Okay, so one of the great things about this, you guys, is that everybody uses LinkedIn a little bit differently. You know, Jeff, for you who haven't used LinkedIn much besides looking for a job, I would really encourage you, and I don't know what field you're in, but I'd really encourage you to consider what are the opportunities for you once you land to network and collaborate, to learn and continually grow on LinkedIn. And you may not utilize it as much once you land, but if you're thinking about that and you keep things moving when you do land, it's a lot easier to pick up speed and restart the process if you happen to be looking again in the future. And I know none of us want to think about that. That's like super depressing. But the reality is that many of us will change jobs multiple times, not necessarily for any fault of our own, right? Companies overhire and then they end up downsizing, or the economy happens, or we have this mass pandemic. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that we never imagined that could get us into looking again. And once you have to, you know, get that ball rolling again, it's really hard. Just think of, you know, inertia. Things in motion, stay in motion. Things not in motion, stay not in motion, right? So if you're moving your LinkedIn profile and acting active in some way on it, it's going to be a lot easier to get that ball rolling in the future. Okay. Any last minute questions as we're rolling in to 8:50? I really hope that this was helpful and gave some of you who have, you know, done a nice job of building your profile some additional ways to engage, some additional tips on how to maximize this. I didn't talk much about how to search for jobs themselves because there's a section for it all by itself. Go in there, look for them. You know, people ask often, like, are there faux pas around reaching out to a hiring manager? Should you connect with them, for example, on LinkedIn? And I say, if you have an interview that day, probably not the right time. But I think prior to interviews even being set up, absolutely engage, reach out, connect. And even after the interview is completed, you can thank them. I do encourage people to still write handwritten thank you notes, which I know gets a lot of pushback because some people are not in the office. So do we have home addresses and whatever? Handwritten thank you notes will set you apart, I guarantee it. But you can also connect on LinkedIn and thank them for their time there, okay? Carmen, great question. Is there a place on LinkedIn with instructions or more information on how to use it? LinkedIn does have a blog, and it does have some tutorials, but I would probably just Google the best ways to use it. If you're looking for specific things, you know, how to best set your privacy settings, there's probably a lot on YouTube. If you want kind of a basic how to set up your LinkedIn profile, what's important to note, I mentioned earlier, I do a session on that here for Crossroads. You should be able to find it on the Crossroads YouTube channel. I think 𝙇𝙤𝙣𝙠𝙚𝙤𝙀 also has done one on LinkedIn, so she has one there, or you can check out the National Institute for Social Media as well for some additional pieces. Is there a way to view your profile without the private to you sections? Unfortunately, not logged in. You can do it with businesses where you can view as the member, but you can't link your profile as other people see it. Now, what you could do, is just simply ask a friend to pull it up for you, or if you have your settings so anyone on or offline can view your profile, then you might be able to log in like under a different browser and stay out of LinkedIn, but pull up the profile and view it that way. But I understand what you're looking to do there, Stephen, and I'm not sure that you can do that. Thank you, Harry, for the LinkedIn help section. There is a lot there. Ooh, great share, Elizabeth. Thank you. And then, yep, here's the link, Kaylee. Thank you for that. The LinkedIn Learning section of the website does have a lot of things. Some of it's around LinkedIn, a lot of it's not. So I haven't dove too deeply into what's there. To your point, Stephen, one of the offers I want to leave with you all is I do a free 30-minute LinkedIn profile review. So it's somewhat similar to what I did with Katie and Kylie here, or Kaylee, sorry. But it goes a little bit more in depth, one-on-one. And if you guys are interested in that, I'll put my calendar link in the chat. You may not find something for a week or two, and I apologize for that. But I do have to limit how many of those I do in a given week, or I would get none of my work done. It's just one of the volunteer things I really like to do. I have been in transition myself before I came to the National Institute. I know how challenging it is. I know how foreign some of these platforms can be, especially if you've not ever engaged in them before, and you're trying to figure this out. So if I can be of assistance to you, please grab 30 minutes on my calendar. Share with me your LinkedIn profile so that I can look it up in advance and have some notes, and we'll walk through it and I'll answer some questions that you all have. In addition to that, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know if you have additional questions, or if there's something that I mentioned today that you didn't catch, or you have missed a step or whatever. I'm happy to do that. So thank you guys so much.
Wonderful, Jennifer. Holy smokes. I think I ran out of ink in my pen. So hopefully you all got good notes from what Jennifer had to say. Always has tons of good content. And this presentation will be on the YouTube channel. So if you didn't get all your notes in, you can review it when that gets posted here in a few days. So don't hesitate to do that. But thank you again. You always bring the goods, and you did it again. So really appreciate all your wisdom, Jennifer.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You bet. Enjoy the day. So before you go, we'll touch on some of the resources that are available through Minnesota Crossroads for you in your job search. As I mentioned earlier, there are a ton of them. And so we'll dive in and go through and do my best. We'll still be out by 9. But I know in my job transition, it can be a bit frightening, and we don't always know what the process is, how long it'll take, what we need to do, and there's a lot there. I just mentioned the YouTube channel. The presentations that we do every month, most of them are on the YouTube channel, MN Crossroads YouTube channel, and it's a treasure chest of information. So make sure you go to that. But we're basically in three churches that we affiliate with: the Grace Church in Eden Prairie, Woodbury Lutheran, and North Heights Lutheran in Arden Hills. Back in the day, prior to COVID, we were in person in all those locations. Right now, it's all virtual out of the Eden Prairie location. Hopefully get back in person soon, but certainly tie into that for whatever questions you got. A phenomenal resource in your job transition is mncrossroads.com. Have that on your speed dial, if there is such a thing on a computer. But there's a job board, there's educational options, there's employers that reach out. It's a great networking tool. I mean, there's a ton there. And so make sure you are finding yourself on mncrossroads.com. Great stuff and jobs. On a weekly basis, we have the networking group, which meets Thursdays between 9 and 11, right after this event here. In a few minutes, I'll be headed over to that. But it's a great networking event. You sign up for the same site that you signed up for this event. It's nice. You get everybody's contact information and email in a roster form. So it really facilitates networking. It's a great networking group. We also have one-on-one coaching. If you have specific questions on resume or whatever it might be in your search, and you'd like to hook up with somebody, there's a bunch of us that volunteer that you can get time with, and we're happy to help you as needed. And we're big believers in prayer at Minnesota Crossroads, and people are praying for you, whether even if you're not aware of it. We have prayer teams that are going all the time. They are praying for you, praying for your search. So if you have a specific prayer request, please let us know, and we will certainly pray on it. And we also have online classes. When I went through my job transition, I never looked for a job in my life since I started my own company out of college. So I had no idea what to do. And this class is fantastic. It's an 8-week class. We start them every month, and it covers every element of job transition, from attitude to negotiating salary to targeting companies, resume. I mean, you name it, it's there. You go through with a leader, a coach, and a few other people. So it's a nice community and a great way to learn about the best way to get through the process as quickly as possible. Also, join the LinkedIn group, MN Crossroads Career Network. Again, a fantastic, we just talked about LinkedIn, how powerful it is. And it's a great group, great way to network and talk to other people in job transition. Excellent resource, so make that part of your arsenal also. The YouTube channel has been referenced. MN Crossroads Career Network is the name, and just fantastic presentations. So, you know, this Friday night, grab some popcorn, curl up, and watch some YouTube job transition videos. Well, it's not that, but anyway, at some time it is a good thing. So make sure you take advantage of that. I'm thrilled that my company, Th Financial, has been a longtime supporter of Minnesota Crossroads, and we take great pride in continuing that support. A lot of ways that we do that through the organization. One of the ways that I do it is I put together some workshops that I offer the first, second, and third Tuesday of the month on financial issues and market updates and retirement problem solving, lots of fun stuff. And so you sign up again for at the same site that you signed up for this event. So love to see you. If you're interested in any of those, sign up for those. And there's a lot of us. I've said before, you're not in this alone. And there are Harry Urschel has assembled a wonderful team of people, vast backgrounds that all have different areas of expertise, perspectives to bring, and we're all here for you. So all you have to do is reach out, whether it's for prayer or coaching or whatever. There is a team here to help you in your job search. And as I referenced the churches earlier, they do have services both in person, and many still stream. And so if you don't have a church home, feel free to reach out to any of those groups, and they would love to have you as part of their church family. The last thing, I referenced this book earlier, How Long, O Lord, How Long? It's a devotion for specifically job transition by Dale Kreinkamp. You will get a copy of this book free of charge just for attending today. It will be mailed to you, and it is our gift to you in your job search. So thanks again for your time. I hope you found it helpful. It was great having so many folks this morning, and blessings in your job search. The next event we will have will be a week from today on February 9th. And this one is in the evening, 7 p.m., not a.m., 7 p.m. Lori Anderson is going to be talking about claiming your future, how you can make the rest of your career the best of your career. So if an evening time would be helpful for you, sign up for that, and love to see you. Again, blessings on your day, and we'll see you soon.